coming world ruler. I'm not saying Trump is the antichrist, right? I am going to say this. We haven't had anybody like him in an awful long time, if ever. He has taken a bull, the bull, by the horns, and he is making his will. He is forcing his will. Even across the oceans, he is using the might of the military. Just has to mention him. And you just have to mention Hegseth's name now, and you know what you get. Rubio over there. They visited overseas. You just have to mention the threat of taking away the dollar, and they cave. And this man does it better than, well, we've certainly seen. I guess I'm at the point, I've never said this before, but I guess I'm at the point I can say this in my lifetime. I'm 65 years old, so I guess that counts for a few decades. I used to hear people say that, in my lifetime. I hear somebody who's 40 years old say, in my lifetime, I go, so we've never seen this. He is doing, he's ramrodding. That's what we used to call it. He is making his will known. He's pushing his weight around. And people don't like it. Now, I had a conversation with an old classmate the other day, and I need to probably stop doing this. The concept is he's a bully. The concept is that Elon Musk has no power, and why is he doing it? The concept is they're billionaires pocketing a whole lot of money and forgetting the fact that Donald Trump gives his salary to either the Veterans Affairs or something similar. Over the years, you can go track what he's given it to. Elon Musk is not taking, and they'll say, well, they're still getting something out of it. I think they need to go talk to Elizabeth Warren and Pelosi and those others who were not millionaires, let alone billionaires, and have made so much money. Follow the money. But if you follow the money when it comes to Trump and Elon Musk, do I have to make a case for them? They're businessmen, and they're very intelligent. And so here I am, a pastor, trying to defend two men and others who are trying to do what I think is good. They are trying to do good. But I think that's what we need to do. That those people, mark those people who walk well. And these two people are not walking according to the scriptures, but they are walking according to the Constitution. And I just want to say this, Elon Musk is not elected. He doesn't have to be. He's appointed. And elections have their consequences. So you have this man who is making his will known and pushing his weight around. That is what the Antichrist will do in such a bigger way. And we'll talk about that. But he's going to have wit. He's going to have money. He's going to have the armies of the world. The world is going to worship him. Does the world worship Donald Trump? They hate Donald Trump. So I am pretty sure that he is not the Antichrist. So anyway, Daniel 11:36, and the king shall do as he wills. He shall exalt himself, magnify himself above every god. Has Donald Trump magnified himself above God, above Jesus, who he said was the greatest person that ever lived? And shall speak astonishing things against the God of gods. God, he hasn't done that. We will keep our Constitution and our God, is what he said at the inauguration. He shall prosper till the indignation is accomplished, for what is decreed shall be done. He shall pay no attention to the gods of his fathers, and we're not worried about Trump's fathers, that's for sure, or to the one beloved by women, he shall not pay attention to any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. Now, I promise you that if Donald Trump, I will say this, he is haughty, he's boastful, but it's clear to me he's been elected. If he magnifies himself above everybody, remember what he said that he did? He does this for America. He does this for righteousness and Constitution. He said those things. And so I haven't heard him talk about himself as being the primary focus here. But I promise you that if he does, you can bet that I will call it out. He shall honor the God of fortresses instead of these. A God whom his fathers did not know, he shall honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and costly gifts. This is going to be interesting to find out what that is, by the way. Nobody really knows. We got a lot of guesses, but we don't know. I would say this in the context of it, and you always look for the context as your first clue. And the context here is a God of fortresses. So military might of some kind. Some kind of God there. Some people say it's a nuclear, the hydrogen bomb or something different. But we're not sure. He shall deal with the strongest fortresses with the help of a foreign God. There it is. Those who acknowledge him he shall load with honor. He shall make them rulers over many and shall divide the land for a price. And some people say, well, what's the land? Or is that the land of Israel? It sounds like it could be the land of Israel, but it could be the land of the world, his kingdom as well. Revelation 6, now I watched when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice like thunder, come. And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he came out conquering and to conquer. This man is going to come promising peace through war. He's on a white horse promising peace. He's a kingly character. I want to remind you at this point, he has a Stephanos. He has one crown. He's been appointed by the people of the nations. He is not possessed at this point, I don't believe. In Revelation chapter 12, when it says Satan has come down to you, I believe he's possessed by the devil himself at just prior to the mid-year point, the mid-tribulation point. But at this point, he has an earthly crown, not a diadem, which is a heavenly crown. Satan has 10 of those given to him. He's going to give them out to other kings. He does not have one of those at this point. Verse chapter 13, they worship the dragon, that's Satan, who had given authority to the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast, who can wage war against him? Now think about this. Now we're going to get into, I don't know if you've watched any of the Munich conferences this past week, and probably not, because they're long, and for most people probably pretty boring. But I wanted to see the strength that was coming in there, what was being said by Vice President Vance, what was being said by General Kellogg, what was being an advisor to President Trump, by Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. And they went in there and didn't pull any punches, and they hate us for it. They don't like Trump. They never did. They certainly don't now. And so I'll show you some things that were said. But this is what Trump has done to say, wake up. Do not rely on the United States for your defense. Here we go again, right? This is just round 2 with President Trump. How long has it been? 80 years. It's been that we've looked out for them and we've paid the price. We have done the heavy lifting as far as people, military, money. Talk about money. The money issue is really astounding. What a waste. What just a waste. So we'll get into some of those really interesting things. Windshield warnings are coming up this week. Where there going to be some wind chills as low as minus 40 and more. So please be careful. And I just wanted to post this. Comes up through Thursday, and then it looks like high 40s and 50s coming up, so that would be great. Did you see this? The Jonah? The whale swallowed that man in a kayak. And here he comes popping out. Watch, here's the whale, and here comes the man. That's pretty astounding. Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah, crazy times. Yeah. They're gonna start calling him Jonah. So. Eruption at Mount Etna in Sicily unleashes massive flows of lava and ash, and the volcano at Santorini is still kicking off, and so some significant events in the magma fields around the planet. Here is a prior Muslim. His name is Karush Azmer at the Western Wall in Jerusalem's Old City. Smiling. He told the members, I was trained by the regime. I was completely brainwashed. I was a commander. But one day I prayed to the God of Israel, show me the truth. He came to me, the God of Israel, Yeshua the Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah. He changed me completely. Now I'm here, standing with Israel with a big heart, crying and standing with you until the end. I love you so much with all my heart. This is very precious to me. Now you get so much hate from Islam, and especially the jihadists, but Islam is not, it's not a friendly. Do not let people, remember George Bush when 9/11 happened and he stood up there and he was trying to divide Islam and talking about the jihadists, and then, there's those who are peace-loving Islam, Muslims. I just want to remind you that they may talk that way, and they really honestly may want that. But if a caliphate is in charge, if they are under a caliphate, they must do as the caliphate says, and they will follow the Quran, and they will enslave Christians and Jews who don't submit themselves. They enslave them and take the taxes, but they'd rather kill them. And of course, they know, that they will kill infidels. That's what they've done. That's what they promised to do. That's what the Quran says to do. So it's just an amazing thing to see that this is happening today. Reconciliation is very important. My country for 46 years have been under a big curse because for 46 years, we've cursed this land. I want to say, all of you, on behalf of my people in Iran, on behalf of my wicked regime in Iran, on behalf of my family, I want to tell you, Jewish people, forgive me. Reconciliation, forgive me. I want to bring the blessing back to my country. Enough curses, enough. Please forgive me. I love you so much. That is astounding. Astounding. Just beautiful. That's beautiful. What a message to the world. A Sanhedrin letter to Trump. Remember that they're trying to bring the Sanhedrin back. There's kind of a self-appointed Sanhedrin of 71. There's 70 and then one leader. In Israel, they've been raising their voices a little bit more lately. And they sign a letter to Trump. You have been elected to fulfill a heavenly mission. May Hashem means the name. If you look at the last four letters of that, see Shem. Shem it means name, the name. One of Noah's sons, of course. And they don't say God's name. They don't say Yahweh. They don't say anything. They say Hashem because they think it's wrong for humans to say the name of God. So may the name, the Creator, bless you and your nation. We extend our heartfelt gratitude for bringing faith to the forefront of American and global culture by establishing the Faith Office in the White House. Your recognition of the importance of religion is a public step in life toward restoring moral values and spiritual leadership in the world. In 17, the Sanhedrin minted a special coin featuring your image on one side and Cyprus the Great on the other. This symbolizes your historic role likened to that of Cyrus, who was chosen by Hashem to fulfill a divine mission. The Chinese appreciated this idea so much that they responded and sold millions of copies of these coins and other products featuring your image alongside Cyrus the Great. You have been elected as Cyrus was in his time to fulfill a heavenly mission, to unite all believers in God and foster ethical cooperation across all the spheres of human activity. We invite you to meet with the Sanhedrin court rabbis in Jerusalem to discuss the establishment of an international divine court. Isn't that interesting? I'm not sure that's a good idea, to be frank with you. For all nations. This court would be based on 7 universal commandments given to Noah and reaffirmed at Mount Sinai, a foundation for global peace and divine justice. May the name bless you with wisdom, strength, and success in your divine mission. Now, this is interesting. I don't think it's a good idea because everything that man builds goes south, right? However, what their idea is good, right? If it was under Mashiach, under Jesus, that would be a great idea, and that's actually what's coming. I just looked at Fox the other day, and I said, look at the headlines. I mean, it's just all Trump, right? And he's winning. You know, what did he say? Even the first 4, we're winning again. He's saying it again. We're winning again. And Putin's being called to the table, and others. And so it's just a fantastic place to be. The United States is considering a large-scale withdrawal of troops from Europe. And he's been thinking about this and wanting to do this for a long time. Now, let me just ask you a question. What do you think this does to the European people? What do you think they think about this? They love and hate it. Can't wait to see those Americans go. Have you seen old army movies where they go to Europe? Some of you are smiling. And they go, and the Americans go over, those ugly Americans, they go over and, take the European ladies and, cause fights and, those lovely old John Wayne movies or whatever. But they like our military over there, don't they? And so this is scaring them. More on that here in a minute. I can't blankety blank. Are Democrats blowing it on this Israel stuff? Trump is coming into office and standing with the Jews is in a way Biden and my party refuse to do. I've had 5 conversations this week with Jewish Democratic insiders who say they feel guilty about voting for Kamala when Trump is the only one that showed true moral outrage over the hostages. For all the after-election talk in the party about not losing more minorities, no one seems to give a blank that we are losing massive numbers of Jewish voters. And it's not that their numbers are hugely consequential, the Jewish vote, but some people are beginning to wake up. We talked last week, remember, about Merry Christmas? And who was voting for who? The red or the green? I like the color red, but I was hoping for the Eagles. It was a great game, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, who was everybody voting for? How about Elon Musk? Who are fans rooting for in the Super Bowl? The Doge commercials. Look at the Doge commercials. So it was go Elon. He's doing a great job. The Doge team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels. They're just finding today. They said they found a whole cache of money that Biden's administration said they lost track of. It's like $2 billion or something. So it's just ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Does it make, okay, let me just ask some sane people here. does it make any sense that we should not care about this? That we're 33 trillion in debt, and let's just let it ride. You know, it's like the crap table. Just throw it back on the table and throw the dice again. You know, no, we care, and people care, and people should care. If they don't, they're anti-American. So, attack on Catholics. Lutherans suggest a new Trump approach on religion. 7 of the 10 largest non-profit contracted within the government in 2024 to resettle refugees are religious, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. 2 of the biggest contractors are U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops and Global Refuge, which was founded by Lutherans. In other words, how much money do you think is going to those outfits? A ton, a lot. Last month, Vice President J.D. Vance criticized, he's Catholic, the U.S. Catholic Church's efforts to help immigrants and refugees, suggesting the church is motivated by money and alleged without evidence that it works with, you can tell who wrote this, with millions of illegal immigrants. Catholic groups spend more money on immigrant services than they receive from the federal government, according to an annual financial audit. And I would say to the Catholic people, well, that's wrong too. Okay, if they're spending your money on refugees, it's wrong. On Sunday, on the social media site X, Twitter, right-wing Trump, see that? How they right-wing Trump ally Mike Flynn accused the Lutheran organizations that receive federal grants to help the needy of committing money laundering. Flynn put quote marks around the word Lutheran, one of America's largest Protestant groups, in the post. What is he saying by Lutheran? Because they're posing as Lutheran? Or maybe they should be doing something Lutheran? They should be doing something Lutheran, the gospel. Several religious groups working overseas say they are facing a cash crisis after the Trump administration ended funding for programs to resettle refugees from around the world to the United States. World Relief, the country's largest evangelical refugee resettlement program, told its members in an email Wednesday that it's facing an urgent $8 million funding gap. The group said the funding lapse would immediately impact 4,000 refugees it works with. Let me tell you about refugees. The biblical concept of refugees is when God sent a famine, people went looking for land, and he moved them out of their land. He said when they sinned against the land, he would kick them out. And it's not just to Israel. It was to all the nations. How does he do that? He uses a famine. He uses wars. He uses those kinds of things. And so we need to figure out the sin problem and not the money problem. Here's our friend Rick Warren again. John 19:18. They crucified Jesus with 2 others, one on each side, and Jesus in the middle. That's true. Watch what Rick says. The guys on both sides were thieves. If you're looking for the real Jesus, not a caricature disfigured by partisan motivations, okay, he just went political, you'll find him in the middle, not on either side. So, he took Jesus and the cross and he made it political. And we are supposed to be like Jesus and not be like the thieves on the left or the right. And I would say, I am the thief on the left or the right. He died for both of them. This is a religious issue. This is a God issue. This is a biblical issue, not a political issue. You just don't take context and down and say, because Jesus was in the middle, you shouldn't be a Republican or a Democrat, or something to that effect. That's where he's going. The thieves are on the Democratic. And okay, so make that statement, make that case, but don't use Jesus on the cross for that. That is not biblical. And I don't know where he went to school. I used to know, I think. I don't care, but that's bad theology. R.C. Sproul, or somebody. So I looked at the posts, and this is R.C. Sproul, and he would be looking down. He's passed away, but he's looking at this going, yeah, huh? You're going to use that text for that? Huh? Yeah. So just pretend that's my face, I guess. So here's some people. Eric Metaxas is a good guy on the left. He says, this is misleading posturing. What does he even mean? Shall we be in the middle when it comes to standing against killing babies or mutilating kids or corruption in our own government? There's a time to be bold as lions against evil. That's not partisan. It's the Lord's will. Absolutely right. Jesus was neither hot nor cold. He was lukewarm. Pretty sure. And Jesse Kelly says, pretty sure it's in the Bible. He's making fun. Absolutely right. Jesus was neither hot nor cold. He was lukewarm. He's being sarcastic. This is an example of proof texting scripture so badly that it should be embarrassed to call yourself a pastor. Neither hot nor cold, you mean sitting on the fence? Just sitting on the fence? How would one, here it is, Ryan Visconti on the right in the middle. How would one be in the middle on abortion? Mutilating kids, genitals, homosexuality, open borders, and the rest. There's no middle ground between evil and righteousness. We would agree with that, right? Josh Daras, sure, all that atonement for sin, victory over death, salvation for mankind stuff is great, but have you ever considered how the real message of the crucifixion is that we shouldn't take sides? He's being sarcastic again. Have you ever considered that we shouldn't take sides? No, that's not the case. We are to take sides. We are to judge rightly. The righteousness of a people exalts a nation. That's wrong. I'm going to pray against it. That's wrong. I'm going to stand against it. Okay? That's the one. How would one be in the middle on abortion and all the other stuff? You can't be. Along those same lines, I'm keeping up with a couple people. This is Kanye West. And remember the big question mark over my head? You probably saw it, right? Over my head several years ago on Sunday nights. Kanye West, he got saved. He's up there on the stage with Joel Osteen. Remember that? And question mark over my head. What's going on? And Osteen brings him up, and they do all kinds of wonderful godly things, right? Godly things. Here's what he said, and there's so much of this stuff. It's really sickening. He woke up one day. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. So he is off the rails. Him and Candace Owens both. They are off the rails. Well, so you don't walk out on me. Don't turn the video off. So Super Bowl Sunday. Merry Christmas, right? And we get the halftime show coming up, right? And we get this guy coming up, and Sonia doesn't really watch a lot of TV with me, but I had the football game on, and I said, sit down here and watch the show with me, and we didn't really want to, but I said, I want to know, because there's messages coming through on the last 10 Super Bowls. So let's just watch what the message is going to be this time. And so we watched it. Didn't understand a word he said. I mean, nothing. And didn't like the music and all this. It looked anti-American to me. They tried to promote the red, white, and blue. And Samuel Jackson comes out and says some things, and I'm like, oh man, this is, okay, so what is the message here? And I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this, but I'm just going to nail it down to a few things. Number one, he won 5 Grammys here recently. He's on top. He's on, who cares? He's on top of the world over there in the rap music and in the music field. People who know him know what he's talking about. So one of his challenging rappers, I guess, trying to make more money than him, they've been in a lawsuit back and forth. They've been in court. And over using music and all this other stuff. So he decided to take this anger and this court case public. And that's what this is about. See the little A? Some of you are music players, teachers. A minor, right? A minor is a chord. But if you look at the flag, see the kids? A minor. And so he calls this guy out by name, Drake. Hey, Drake. And he kept singing this song, and he's talking about A minor. Pedophile. He's taken this thing to the public stage. His anger and this junk comes to the public stage. I would say, go someplace else and do it. Take it to court and do all that stuff. But why would you come and throw your anger and your stuff right in the middle of 120 million people? And who's running the show over there? How do they get the okay to go do this? And all the stuff that he's wearing, down to his ring, his coat, it all means something. It's all symbolic. And from now on, I'm just saying, we've done this with many people during the halftime show now in the Super Bowls, and they're all coming back with pretty evil stuff in general. Why can't we just go back to Randy Travis or somebody singing something? Thank you, Kendrick. This is pretty funny. Thank you, Kendrick Lamar, for years. This is pretty funny. For years, I've been paralyzed, stuck in a wheelchair. But when you started performing at the halftime show, I gained the strength to get up and turn that trash off. Thank you, Mr. Lamar, for all you do for the disabled community. That was pretty brilliant. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go any more with that. Real briefly on this guy, he claims to be a Christian. He's talking about Jesus Christ, and just kind of like, again, when my yellow and sometimes orange flags and even red, they go out there, they did with Kanye West. Here we go again. This man, his name is, I think it's Ruslan Cady, but this guy's wonderful to listen to. If you ever, he's really good. And he went looking, talking about this singer, and this is an older post. He chants Godspeed for women's rights. So Lamar, the guy who sang at halftime, he comes up dressed like Jesus, which is a no-go. We don't do that. I wear this as a representation of the greatest prophets, that prophet, that should be singular, that ever walked the earth. He's talking about Jesus, but he called him a prophet. He went on to rap about women's rights, and he's talking about abortion. He's talking about it's okay to have an abortion. So this guy is another player that we don't listen to. I don't listen to. Sorry, I don't mean to tell you what to do, but I like to flesh some of this stuff out because they pretend to be Christians, and I know Paul wouldn't have it, and I don't like it either. Let's get into some geopolitics. China places a massive order for kamikaze drones. We showed you the aircraft carrier last week, their new aircraft carrier, and now they're placing orders for these drones. And so the concept is that they can get this carrier into a battle, they can launch 1,000 drones. What are you going to do with 1,000 drones? It'll be very, very difficult. And so they are ramping that up as we speak. Trump says, now, China and India don't like each other. So Trump said to India, the U.S. will boost military sales to India, including F-35s, the most sophisticated jet on the planet. There's some nations I would just rather not have it given to. India, to me, is one of them. But he's the president, and so be it. Now, you remember Biden is the one that announced this corridor between the Gulf, it started at the UAE, a terminal at the UAE, went through Saudi Arabia into Israel, and then into the Mediterranean there. And Trump announced the creation of this corridor, an international trade route. What he did basically, in what he's saying is he's extended it halfway around the world. The IMEC will go from India through the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and Italy, and from there to the US, and will be connected by ports, railways, and undersea cables. Trump has already called it one of the greatest trade routes in history. They are trying to undo the Chinese route that's going across the stands and into trying to get to Europe. China is not doing too well on that. They're way behind, and they're losing ground. Now the United States is kind of picking this up. Trump is picking up this idea and extending it. The U.S. and India plan to more than double their total bilateral trade by 2030 to $500 billion. The U.S. will supply them jets and stuff. So Trump, he's been after the Taiwan chips. He said they took our business away. He said that his first term. He wants it back. How do you get it back? You build the best facilities here to build them. It takes anywhere from 5 to 10 years to build one facility because they have to be micro clean and everything. So, but he wants the chip industry back here in the United States. We're already doing a good job. I know Intel and others are building some facilities, but he wants it all back. You know, why is he doing that? Because Taiwan shouldn't be our problem. That's where he's going with this. Whatever you think about the Taiwanese, he's trying to think, what are we trying to secure that little island for? For chips? Okay, that's one thing. For freedom and independence, that's another. Let's split the case. And that's what he wants to do, and it's the proper thing to do. The European Union minister, Kaya Kallas, listening to J.D. Vance's speech today, felt like the U.S. was trying to start a fight with us. United States Vice President J.D. Vance's speech at the Munich Security Conference was unacceptable. I don't know if you listened to him, but he talked like an American to me. He talked like American. And he talked almost like an American general, but you go over there, he talked like a brilliant American politician, and going over there and saying, basically, I'm just going to say this, you got to stop doing the things you've been doing. It's not working. And the United States is going to push our agenda, and you need to come alongside and toe the line. That's what I got out of it. People might say, well, but I think this person would agree. So here is the UK Foreign Secretary. The US and the UK said 3 years ago that Putin was going to invade. Ukraine must be in NATO. Because Putin violated Minsk 20 times. So what he's saying is, we're doing the same thing over again. And the United States is coming with some significant power here, and we need to take this opportunity to change. Because the UK and the US told you what was going to happen, you didn't listen. And Trump told them, and everybody told them. Now, here is just a short clip of this conference.
Minister Sepaliani, how you see the first steps to providing Ukraine the security guarantees that it needs and that would also make you feel comfortable? I mean, Lithuania, everybody talks about how you are also in Putin's eyes quite closely.
Well, first of
Are we
all,
talking about a European army going forward? What would you like to see in the short term, the medium term, the long term? Because Zelensky mentioned a European force this morning.
I think that we are not starting from the most important moment. It's military muscle of Europe. You cannot guarantee security to anyone if you are not strong enough. And therefore we have all been shaken a bit, I'd say, over the course of the past 4 days. I came from Brussels to Munich, and in Brussels I saw a very interesting change in the room full of my colleagues in the course of 24 hours. One, from this illusion that the United States are going to defend Europe, we came to a realization that we are going to defend ourselves with the help of the United States. And that's a bit different formula. And therefore, yes, we need to be in the room where negotiations will be, because we are going to bear the consequences as well, and we are going to be a part of it. But talks are just empty words if there is no money on the table. And we will have to put that money on the table now. We have debt of over 7 decades to United States all over Europe. Okay, our region probably 3 decades because we were occupied before that. But nevertheless, the United States paid for European security with debt, with interest, came to our door right now, and we will...
So she's a little hard to understand in that clip, but she's saying that the United States has paid for your security for 70 years. That's come to roost. It's time to pay back. We need to take this opportunity to get the help of the United States, but we need to do it. She said in the last 4 days, the whole Europe has been upended. And she said she met with 4 of her colleagues, and within 24 hours, they are upside down. In other words, when Hegseth went over there, the Secretary of Defense, when Vance went over there, when General Kellogg went over there, he said, we're not doing this anymore. And they're all upside down. Now, Trump warned them 6 years ago that you need to ramp up for this. Putin's at the door, he's coming. And they didn't listen. And you know what? To be frank with you, the Europeans still hate him. The Europeans don't like us. But they want our money, and they want us to keep paying the bill. And the United States, I think, is pretty sick of it. So when somebody says it's unacceptable, Vice President Vance's message is unacceptable, these people are saying, the real leaders are saying, time out. And so when they had this panel here with General Kellogg, they gave him so much time. He had most of the time. He's very intelligent. He's brilliant. And he says, this is Trump's envoy, European countries will not be party to the agreement to end the war in Ukraine and will not sit down around the negotiating table. The Europeans are saying, we need to be in on those agreements. And he's saying, not going to happen. You guys will mess it up. You want something else. We're going to fix it one more time. And then we're going to, probably take some of our guys and go home. I'm not sure that is the case. That'll be a little difficult. He can do it. All you got to do is sign the orders and bring. I can't remember if we got 70 or 80,000 troops over there. 70 or 80,000 troops in Europe, and that's a huge bill. Nobody else is paying us. We're paying the bill for that. And I think that it's time that we do some changes. And Trump is making it happen. Here's the Polish foreign minister. Whether this happens or not is whether we are scared enough or not. In other words, Poland has taken their defense spending up to, I think they said 5%. Everybody else is hard to get 2%. There's maybe 1 or 2 that are up at like 2.5. They are up to 4 or 5, which is a huge amount of money. And he said, and why is this happening? Because Poland is on the front lines. And what Trump is saying, these others are saying, you guys are using Ukraine You're sending all money, and you're sending our money and troops, arms over there, and you're making them fight for you. And you're killing all their troops using our money. Does that make any sense? And he's saying it's time to ramp up the defense. What they're getting at is a European defense army. That's what they're getting at. And this will set it up properly, I believe, for the Antichrist. He's talking about a rearmament bank, money going into it. Where does the funds come from? The first one he mentioned is the COVID unspent funds. Isn't that crazy? The closer we are to Russia, the more defense funds are spent. That's Poland. The EU has a European peace facility, which is their defense fund. Disbursements from that defense fund can be blocked by one country. This is the problem with the EU. And Hungary is blocking disbursements from that military defense fund. Now, Hungary is an interesting character. Hungary is a conservative. It is not really Western in culture. It's more European, Eastern European. They get so much gas and oil from Russia. So they're a very nationalistic country. We want to be our own people, but we need Russian oil. And we're scared to death not to have it. So they're blocking some of the defense funds. And so that's why the Europe is messed up. And I believe that at some point Europe will have to change. Remember, the UK got out of EU. It did the Brexit. It's not going real well. They haven't done their trade real well. Their parliament, their political issues are deep, and the immigration with the Islamic issue is a major, major problem right now. So I'm not sure if they can be turned around, but it's Europe's a mess. It really is a mess. New laws in Germany. It is forbidden to hold demonstrations with Arabic slogans, Arabic music, or Arabic writing. Anyone who violates, like Palestinians in Berlin today, will be immediately arrested and persecuted. The Germans have no more patience to this death cult of anarchists. And so little by little, just like it did back in the 1400s, when the West turned back on Islam, 1200s or so, they turned back and they kicked Islam out of the West. I'm not saying that's going to happen. It would make sense if it did. Daniel chapter 2, they don't mix. It's happened before, but there's 25 to maybe more, 30 million Islamists, refugees basically. I guess you can't call them all jihadists, but there's a whole group of them there. And to change Europe now is going to be a big problem. But they got to do something, and they're the courts, the people are standing up to some extent. A 24-year-old Afghan asylum seeker who perpetrated the car ramming attack in Munich has admitted that he's an Islamist. He says Allah had ordered him to carry out the attack and that wanted to send everyone to paradise. Okay, we don't need your paradise. Jesus did away with the paradise. A Syrian asylum seeker randomly stabbed 5 people on a street. A 14-year-old boy is killed. And see his smile? He's really happy about it. He thinks Allah is happy with him. I want to remind you, I believe that Allah is the moon god. Perpetrators behind sexual crimes, compared to the Finns, the rates of sexual offenses committed are 6 times more than the Finns commit sexual offenses. The Somalis do. 10 times the Iraqis do. 12 times the Afghans and Congolese. And 15 times are Syrians. In other words, send them back home. I want to keep up with this just a little bit, not a whole lot, probably more. This might be the end, but I want to remind you that these 2 people on the left who were doctors have said that we will kill Jews. And they said it on a video. This man is a Jewish man on the right. This is a video, I'm not going to play it. But he just started, he was nice to them and started talking to them, oh, you're doctors. And then he said, well, I'm a Jew. And then they started saying, well, we don't want to talk to you, we'll kill you, you know, those kind of things. We kill Jews. And so this note just today came out. They've been arrested. The two on the left have been arrested, and they've been shut down there. But this just came out on the left. A twist in the investigation on the NSW nurse who went on an Israeli rant as morphine vial allegedly found in a Bankstown hospital locker. So in other words, they've been doing criminal activity. So it's the anti-Semitic issues are rising all over across the nation. I don't know if we reported this last week, but the new FBI temporary director has gone on to say that anti-Semitism in the United States is rampant. So it's growing at a very high speed. You know what? I can't really find a good answer to this. I've looked everywhere. And why is the Egyptian military amassing outside of the Israeli border, just south of it? And at first, we thought it was because of a Houthi. The Houthis said, we're going to attack Egypt. And so we saw this coming. But now, I think we're leaning toward the fact that they're concerned that the Palestinians may be coming across the border and that Israel may even push them across the border, which will start a war. I'm not sure that's the case. I'm going to say I'm not sure that's the case. But Egypt is amassing their tanks. You can see them, and this has been going on for about 2 weeks. So we're going to continue to watch what is happening there. But Egypt is certainly, President Sisi was supposed to come over and see Trump. When Trump told Jordan, the Palestinians got to go and there's no ifs, ands, or buts, Sisi canceled his appointment. He's not flying over. That brings us to Jordan in a minute. There they are. Israeli Army Radio, the Egyptian defense minister ordered military brigades in the Sinai and Rafah regions to maintain the highest level. So I don't know if they're just pausing or what they're doing there. So Egypt is to offer the Trump Gaza reconstruction plan. So nobody is answering Trump. Everybody's saying that makes sense. It makes sense. Move them out of Gaza. But now Egypt is saying, well, I think that if us and Jordan and Turkey and Qatar, who has all the money in the world, get together, we can fix this. So they're trying to offer a plan, anti-Trump plan. They don't want to see Mar-a-Lago in Gaza. So we posted that this meeting took place last week. There's Khomeini and the Hamas leaders, and that just a few days, or the next day really, they said they canceled the ceasefire. They were going to go back to war. Hamas said you're not getting your hostages back. And that's when Trump said, okay, I'm quoting him, all hell's going to break loose. And then they went back. Remember, Trump is saying, release all the hostages or you're in trouble. And then he left them up to Israel and said, Israel said, well, let's return to the original deal. We want the next plan, a step to go forward. So now watch what comes out of the water here. So Iran is shooting drones out of a submarine. They come out of a capsule and then they take off out of it. So it's very, very interesting. Sudan and Russia, it's a very, very inexpensive mini cruise missile, if you want. Cruise missiles come out of submarines. They can be, with GPS systems, they can be pinpointed to the targets. They're doing now the same thing with drones. So they can't do as much damage, of course, but they can do a whole lot more of them. Sudan and Russia have agreed on everything regarding the creation of a Russian naval base. This has been going on for a while. Remember that Sudan is Cush, and we believe that Russia is Magog, and they will be in league in Ezekiel 38. You know, Witkoff went over to Moscow, and they released a Vogel, which was wonderful. Oil, big major deal. The United States assistance for managing and securing camps in northeastern Syria with Islamic State linked prisoners cannot last forever. Camps cannot remain a direct U.S. financial responsibility, urges countries to repatriate their displaced and detained nationals in region. So I've mentioned this the last couple weeks, but Trump, the reason I put the oil up there before this and now this, these are oil fields in there. The oil I'm talking about here is Iranian oil. So this, you've got the oil there that's in the yellow. Turkey wants that oil. Syria, of course, wants that oil. Iran would love to have that oil. So what I'm saying is this, that the United States is going to ramp up sanctions on oil transfers, and it's going to decimate some of these economies if they don't change. Iran is in trouble here. It's going to be, again, very interesting to see what Trump will do with the Syrian president. And he said this himself. He knows Turkey's behind this. So you can say that you're dealing with the Syrian president all you want. To be frank, you're dealing with Erdogan. And so oil is the big deal. Macron, the SDF, the yellow, the Kurds, must be integrated into the Syrian army. The French president, war against ISIS must continue. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Because it was the Kurds, first of all, they've got all the prisons, and they're the ones that did all the heavy lifting against ISIS. Turkey is saying that they can take out ISIS, and they can, actually, I think they can. However, Macron is calling the good guys out, saying, you're out and the bad guys are in. Now Syria, a readout of calls says Putin congratulated the president. Remember, I just want to remind you, Turkey was bombing the green. Russia was bombing the green. Putin was killing the people that now own Syria. And the Syrians have not forgotten it. But Putin wants a way back in, and Erdogan is going to tell the president, get him back in. They want, okay? So that's the Gordian knot issue again. Syria readout of Putin calls the green leader, the president now, Sarar, on taking the presidency. He congratulates him. Sarar noted the deep strategic relationship between Russia and Syria. Putin said he was ready to revisit agreements signed between Moscow and the previous regime as per readout. Putin also invited the Syrian foreign minister to Moscow. So now this Syrian knot is unraveling a little bit. Turkey has been the main player in that. Turkey awaits a possible breakthrough in the long war with Kurds. I just want to say this. The leader of the Kurdish party is in prison in Turkey. And if he comes out and says to the Kurds, lay down your arms, many of them probably are. It's going to be interesting to watch. But many are saying that he's on the verge of saying, we got to stop this war and just fall in league with the rebels. We'll see how this plays out. Trump on Gaza, we're going to have it. So we're going to take.
We're not going to buy anything. We're going to have it. We're going to keep it, and we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace, and there's not going to be any problem, and nobody's going to question it. And we're going to run it very properly, and eventually we'll have economic development at a very large scale, maybe the largest scale on that site. And we'll have lots of good things built there, including hotels and office buildings.
Look at the flag that's right behind you.
Other things. And we'll make that site into what it should be. and the people from Gaza who wouldn't be able to be there for years, because you're talking about just to get it and prepare it and to take care of all of the problems that currently it has, as you know, tunnels, and people are in those tunnels, and you have some good people and some bad people, and you may have hostages right now. You know, you have the hostages possibly there. They don't know where they are. And, you know, I have a Saturday deadline, and I don't think they're going to make the deadline personally. I think they want to play tough guy, but we'll see how tough they are. But it's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to be wonderful for the Middle East. I think it'll turn the Middle East. I think you're going to have peace in the Middle East. You're going to eventually have peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, you will. And it'll be a bad peace, and then it'll be a good peace, but not until then. This is the chairman, a chairman in Turkey. He's proposed that Gaza be connected to Turkey. So Egypt wants to save Gaza. Jordan wants to save Gaza. Now Turkey is saying we can be connected to Gaza. They do not want Trump there. Don't bring your Marine Corps red flag to Gaza. The people of Gaza should hold a referendum and be connected to Turkey as an autonomous region until the Palestinian state is established. Wouldn't that be very interesting if all of a sudden the Palestinian Authority in Gaza got together and said, Hamas and everybody said, okay, we want to now be a part of the Turkish nation. And what an uproar that would be. So very, very difficult times, but Trump is pushing his weight around. Erdogan, Israel cannot be allowed to continue as if nothing has happened after causing destruction, suffering, and massacres. In other words, they must pay a price. Turkey, we do not accept the displacement of Palestinians or changing the identity of Jerusalem. It's just, there's the Ottoman Empire's head sticking back up there. Clashes between Hezbollah and the Lebanese army. The United States is pushing on the Lebanese army to get Hezbollah out of the politics in Lebanon. And there's a lot of pressure on Lebanon right now. That's enough of that. Israeli presence in Syria is no longer temporary. Netanyahu says military sites are being built in the security zone. Israeli forces plan to remain in Syria throughout the year with 3 brigades, and I think that's anywhere between 12 and 14,000, somewhere in there. I'm not sure how big their brigades are. I should look that up. But so here's the message.
Mr. President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that could take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here, and as you said, sir, we've got some very interesting discussions.
So he's very delighted to be here.
Thank you very much.
He's very delighted to be here. He's scared to death. And he said those things, you're the one that can take us across the finish line. And then he went back home the next day, and him and Egypt got together and said, we are not going to follow Trump and what he wants to do. So they can talk and yak. He is caught between a rock and a hard place. I truly believe with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line, and that he's not going to follow them. So he's talking about out of both sides. He's appeasing, that's what they do. Netanyahu vows to finish the job against Iran with Trump's support. And Trump to Reuters in response to a question about Israel's annexation of Judea and Samaria, I believe it will work. If Israel takes Judea and Samaria, which people want to call the West Bank, he has come a long way. I want to remind you that in 2018-19, when he was president, and Netanyahu came and said, we want to push the settlement issue, we want to build some settlements, Trump said no. And that was one of the problems that he had with Netanyahu. For him to say, let's annex them, is it's a bigger step in settling. That's a bigger step in settlement. That is a government coming in and saying, we own that land. So that is a huge deal. From London to Jerusalem, is God orchestrating British Jewry departure? Approximately 145,000 Jews live in London. In total, London and the countries around it are host to 71% of England's and Wales' Jewish population. And I think it was like 80% say we no longer feel safe in London. So they're looking to go home. I'm going to finish with the Bibas. And when I see this picture, I want to cry. This is the family. You remember that the husband was released last week. And those 3 kids, there's a video of the mother with the 2 kids being carried away. They were in very good shape. There was nothing wrong with them. And they were hoping that they were going to be released. And now there's some reports that saying they may be dead. Now here, what is the reason for that? Well, I mean, that is a stupid question of mine, isn't it? Because they just kill and do whatever they want to anybody. And these 3 kids, these 3 people were healthy when they went in. There's videos of them. She's got both the kids. And it saddens me. If for anything else, we need to end this war and try not to see it happen again in our lifetime. First of all, Paul said, then I urge that petitions and prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be offered up for everyone, for kings and all those in authority, so that we may lead tranquil and quiet lives in all godliness and dignity. This is good and pleasing in the sight of God our Savior. Paul says in Romans 13, everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which is from God. The authorities that exist have been appointed by God. Consequently, whoever resists authority is opposing what God has set in place. And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Do you want to be unafraid of the one in authority? Does the nations or the people of the United States want to be unafraid of Trump's authority? Then do what is right, and you will have his approval. Reminder, remind the believers to submit to rulers and authorities, be obedient and ready for every good work. I think that we have a good president right now, and I pray that he continues. Proverbs says, by me kings reign and rulers enact just laws. By me princes rule and all nobles who govern justly. The king's heart is a waterway in the hand of the Lord. He directs it where he pleases. He changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and establishes them. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning. So we need to continue to pray for this man, that he will continue to appoint very good people. So far, so good. I'm waiting to watch 1 or 2 of these play out a little bit now that they've been appointed. And also, it's going to be very interesting to see Cash Cattell, is that how you say his name? In the FBI. He is going to turn that thing upside down, and we can't wait. That's going to be fantastic. There's no more Black History Month, all that kind of stuff. We already talked about that in the military, because we're all the same color in the military. We all fight side by side. We love each other whether we're from one nationality or another. So the military is going in a really, really good place away. The State Department is doing the same. So let's just keep praying for this man, praying for peace, praying for goodness. And then I guess I would say this. I don't think that we should ever stop praying for those people that we it's hard to have hope for. There's certain people that you talk to and you say, this person's not getting it, that we just don't get it. I am going to say this, and I'm going to say it for your peace of mind, okay? I'm saying this for your peace of mind. There's a couple Bible verses, there's some examples where you say, Lord, I can't do this anymore. I can't engage with this person. He or she does not want to listen. They are blinded. They are mean, right? And we are called to live in peace. Lord, I can't deal with this person. I'm turning them over to you. I have to leave them in your hands. I'm going to continue to pray for them, but I can't deal with them anymore. When there's a brother or a sister that refuses to repent, Paul turned them over to Satan. Okay? They're actually in God's hands when he does that, but he turns them over in that way. I'm not really talking about that issue. That's a Christian who's unrepentant. I'm talking about somebody who can't see the light and causes anxiety, maybe anxiety with you and your family, and we can't deal with it. And I would just say you're not responsible to keep picking that fight, okay? I'm not saying don't. If you want to, please do. However, it takes a lot of times it takes a lot wiser person than I am. I know how to deal with that. It's very difficult. Let's pray. Lord, we need the courage that comes from your scriptures, from the Bible, from your word. It is truth. From Genesis to Revelation, every jot and tittle, every word. Help us understand it, Lord, so that we can walk in your ways. Help us to understand you. As we were saying this morning, we don't understand, Lord, why you would just continue to let Satan rule the air. He's the prince of this world. You've let him rule the world, not your people, and he doesn't own the world, but you've given him authority over it. We don't understand that. But we do know this. It leads to some being afraid and running to you for righteousness and salvation. Help us do that, Lord. Help us be the herald that sounds the trumpet and tell people to run for cover in the tower of the name of the Lord our God. Those who run to him are safe. So help us do that, Lord God, we pray. We want to do that for your name's sake. We pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen.